Jannik Sinner entered Wimbledon as the top seed and the title favorite, high off his first grass court trophy in Halle. But after the men's draw was released on Friday, the Italian's chances of lifting his second major trophy looked a tad more bleak as he was given one of the worst sections out of the top seeds. Last year's finalists Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic, meanwhile, have excellent draws, which Djokovic will especially like, having recovered from knee surgery only 3 weeks ago. Will we see one of these top 3 ranked men etch their names on the Wimbledon winner wall in 2 weeks, or will someone else write their name in tennis history? Hi, my name is Christian Basnight and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. Before I officially start this video, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so that way you're updated and notified whenever I post more Wimbledon content like this, as well as I want to reach my goal of making 15,000 subscribers before Wimbledon ends. Now, getting into the draw and things like that, the projected quarterfinals, we have Jannik Sinner going up against potentially 5th seed Daniil Medvedev, Carlos Alcaraz, the defending champion, against Casper Ruud, the 8th seed, Andrei Rublev against Alexander Zverev, and then Hubert Hurkacz versus 7-time champion Novak Djokovic. Starting off with top seed Jannik Sinner, looking at his draw in his section, he is opening against Yannick Hoffmann and could then face his compatriot Matteo Berrettini in round 2, Tallon Griekspoor, the 27th seed, in the 3rd round, Ben Shelton in the round of 16, Medvedev, of course, in the quarterfinals, Carlos Alcaraz in the semis, and Djokovic in the final. Of course, the glaring thing here in Sinner's draw is that round 2 meeting potentially between him and his compatriot Berrettini. This would be a brutal second round match for Sinner because Berrettini is a big dark horse pick. He made the finals here 3 years back in 2021, and grass is by far his best surface. And even though he doesn't have a lot of match reps under his belt this season, he came back after I believe 2-month hiatus and reached a final in Stuttgart straight off the bat, barely falling in that championship match to Jack Draper. Sinner won the lone meeting against Berrettini in last year's Toronto Open, winning that one 6-4, 6-3. But this match, I think being on grass favors Berrettini a lot more. As I said before, it's his favorite surface. Now, Berrettini has been struggling with injury, as I mentioned too, the past few years, and match fitness is always a concern, especially because he has not played a Grand Slam match since the 2023 US Open, and best of 5 is a whole other animal. I could definitely see Berrettini winning a set or even 2, but I think the match tough Sinner will have more left in the tank in the end, and I think he will finish this one off. Of course, we have to remember that both men have to win their opening round matches before this match even happens, and I think that Berrettini for sure has the tougher opening round match against Martin Fucsovics. The Hungarian, he made the quarterfinals back in 2021, so he can for sure play on the grass as well. Now, looking down, Tallon Griekspoor is his first projected seeded opponent in round 3, and the Dutchman is great on grass himself, and he pushed Sinner to 3 sets in Halle last week. He does need to watch out for Kecmanovic, though, Griekspoor does. Nicolas Jarry, the 19th seed, will be playing his first match on grass this year, and he opens up against 2021 semifinalist Denis Shapovalov, which is bound to be a popcorn match. Jarry is actually a pretty solid grass court player, even though most of his notable results have come on the clay, and I say that because he pushed Alcaraz to 7-5 in the 4th set last year. Although I still would not be surprised at all if Shapo did upset him there, because the Canadian absolutely loves the tournament. He brings his best tennis at Wimbledon. Another lefty is at the bottom, of course, 14th seed Ben Shelton. Now, Shelton does not have a lot of confidence right now. He has not done much on tour since winning that Houston 250 title back in April. I can actually see him losing in the second round to either Lloyd Harris or Alex Michelsen, who has been impressive on the grass lately. I think that Jannik honestly has a great shot at facing an unseeded player in that 4th round, and I guess I'll go ahead and have him playing Denis Shapovalov, although a lot of people can come through and play him, to be honest. I think the 4th round can be tricky for Sinner too. Plus, we have to remember that Halle curse of the non-Roger Federer champions not doing very well at all at Wimbledon, but I think Sinner is a different breed. He's a Grand Slam champion, unlike those other Halle champions, and I think that he will be too solid, and I pick him to make the Elite 8. Grigor Dimitrov is at the top of Daniil Medvedev's section. In the 10th seed, he fell kind of early in Queens, losing to Sebastian Korda, although that was a tight match. I still think that Grigor looked good there, despite losing, of course, and I don't really see him having too many problems in reaching the 3rd round. There, he is likely to face a Frenchman in either Gael Monfils or Adrian Manarino, who actually play one another in the opening round. Monfils looked great in Mallorca, in my opinion. He fell in the semifinals to the eventual champion Alejandro Tabila. Mannarino, meanwhile, his game is tailor-made for the grass, so that will be a good match. Regardless of who comes through there, I think the Bulgarian would be too tough, and I'm putting him through to reach the second week. 5th seed Daniil Medvedev has a chance at revenge over Zhang Zhizhen in their third round. Zhang beat Medvedev 7-6 in the third set in Halle. However, I think the Russian will instead face Jan-Lennart Struff in the third round. The German looked great in Halle, pushing Sinner to a third set tiebreak. Struff and Medvedev actually played once before at Wimbledon back in 2021, and I think I'd go with the 5th seed to win yet again should they face. Now, between Dimitrov and Medvedev to make the quarterfinals, I am leaning more towards Grigor. I say this because while Daniil is a better slam player, I was not impressed at all with his form in Halle, and I think Dimitrov, meanwhile, is in better form, and I think will be too tough for him at this stage. 3rd seed Carlos Alcaraz opens his title defense against Mark Lehal, the Estonian, and could then face Aussie Alexander Vukic, then Francis Tiafoe in the third round, Hugo Humbert in the fourth, Casper Ruud in the quarters, Jannik in the semis, and Novak in the final. Carlitos only played 2 matches on grass this season, losing to Jack Draper in the Queen's round of 16. I for sure think Carlitos will be very happy with his draw. He faces either Vukic or Sebastian Offner in round 2. Both the guys are playing great right now. Vukic, he made the Eastbourne semifinals, losing to eventual champ Fritz, and then Offner reached the Mallorca final, finishing runner-up there. But still, Alcaraz should be too much for either man. The experience, I think, will prevail in the end should he play either of those guys. His seed, Francis Tiafoe, is having a very poor season for his standards, and Big Foe slipped and injured his hip, and I can definitely see Francis being balanced in the opening round to its talented Italian Matteo Arnaldi. I have a strong feeling that Carlitos will play an unseeded player in the 4th round. Baez is not really a good grass court player, and I expect Brandon Nakashima, the American, to take him out in the 1st round. Jordan Thompson is there too, and the Aussie looked good when he made the Queen's semifinal, so I could definitely see him making the round of 32. 16th seed Hugo Humbert, while good on grass, is very streaky, and I think either Nakashima or Thompson will beat him in that 3rd round. I think that regardless of who he faces in the 4th round, although Humbert, I think, stands to be his biggest threat, Alcaraz should clear and make the quarterfinals yet again. Now, any section with Casper Ruud as the top seed at Wimbledon is going to be one with opportunity, and of course this one is no different. The Norwegian notoriously is not fond of the grass, and I think his indifference will be even stronger this season with the Paris Olympics on the horizon. 12th seed Tommy Paul will be the favorite in this section as he is the reigning Queen's 500 champion. Paul is going to hope that 18-year-old Czech Jakub Mensik takes out Alexander Bublik in the 1st round, because Bublik is a considerable threat to him in that 3rd round. Zizou Bergs is another talented younger guy. The young Belgian came through qualifying and could definitely make some noise here at SW19. Ruud actually has a great section, and it's crazy. The draw guys need to stop wasting good sections on a Casper Ruud because he's going to mess it up here at Wimbledon. Give the good section to someone else like a Jannik Sinner. Sinner needed that section. But anyways, Ruud, his projected seed, Mariano Navone, is a clay court specialist, and I have him losing to Lorenzo Sonego in the 1st round. The Italian is great on grass. Roberto Bautista Agut, a former semifinalist here at Wimbledon, is there in that little section as well. Ruud, he has never made it past the 2nd round at Wimbledon, and I think that he will this year, though, but I do not have him going much further, and I think Sonego will get him out of here in the 4th round. I am weary about putting Paul through, though, being transparent, because even though on paper he should be the favorite, he won Queens, I have a nagging feeling that someone like a Sonego, Mensik, or even Bergs will take him down. I will stick beside him, though, and I will put him through to make his 1st Wimbledon quarterfinal. Andre Rublev and Stefanos Tsitsipas are the 2 highest seeds in this next section, but they're not the favorites, to me at least, to come through, as they both lost early in Halle in straight sets. Lorenzo Musetti and Sebastian Korda look in much better form, both making finals in Queens and Hertogenbosch respectively. However, the American Korda has a tough opener against Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, who is good on the grass himself. If he's able to get by the Spaniard, which I think he will, Sebi is my pick to make the 2nd week. Korda, again, he's looked great on the grass this season. While Tsitsipas struggles to bring his best tennis at SW19, he's never made it past the 4th round. Musetti, meanwhile, has an easier road to the 3rd round, but Rublev is a tougher opponent. Andre, he has not been in great form since winning the Madrid title earlier in May, but this draw definitely allows him to play into form. I am leaning a bit more towards Musetti making the quarterfinals because I think he has a better shot at even making the third round, and then I am worried that Korda will have a letdown with more eyes being on him in this slam in particular. Now, looking at Alexander Zverev's section, Fritz is at the top of it, Taylor Fritz, and he's fresh off his Eastbourne 250 title. The American is projected to face a fellow 250 grass champion in Alejandro Tabilo. Tabilo won the Mallorca title, and of course he could face Taylor in that third round. I see both guys making it to that match, although the Chilean will have a harder path with Rinky Hijikata being a likely second round opponent, and then two, he has never made it past a second round at a slam. Because of that factor, I will be giving Fritz the edge to make the second week. Zverev, meanwhile, he does not have that great of a draw. The German made the semifinals of Halle, but he is not that great on grass. He too has never made the quarterfinals at Wimbledon. Marcus Giron is a potential second-round opponent for Zverev, and Giron has been great too. Recently, he beat Rublev in Halle and is a great grass court player. The bigger threat to Zverev for me, though, is definitely Jack Draper, the 28th seed, who won Stuttgart and beat Carlos Alcaraz in Queens. If Draper is healthy, I think he has a great opportunity to not only make the second week, but go beyond and make some big noise here in this tournament. Jack does need to beware, though, of fellow Brit lefty Cam Norrie, who made the semifinals at Wimbledon in 2022. I think we will see a Fritz Draper fourth round, and I honestly, like I said before, could see Jack going on a really big breakout run here, especially with the crowd behind him and him playing the best tennis of his life thus far. But I think I will keep it safe and stick with Taylor Fritz because his path to even making the second week looks far better, and I feel like he would have a little bit more in the tank should they both play in that fourth round match. Now, 7th seed Hubert Hurkacz is the highest ranked here in this 7th section, and his draw looks good. Arthur Fils in the second round could be tricky, but the Frenchman does struggle a bit in the majors, and he has an interesting opening round match himself, playing against fellow next-gen star Dominic Streaker, who will be making his return after dealing with injury. The projected third-round opponent for Hurkacz is Francisco Cerundolo, who has a tough opener, and last year's surprise quarterfinalist, or one of last year's surprise quarterfinalists, Roman Safulin. Andy Murray is also there. Man, poor Andy. It's like watching a dog who's on his last legs, just ready to be put down. And I just hope Andy finishes his last Wimbledon. And I hope this is his last Wimbledon, but I hope he finishes it out without a horrible injury and that he can just bow out gracefully if he does compete. Anyways, getting back on track, Libema Open champion Alex de Minaur is at the bottom, and he could meet Felix Auger-Aliassime in the third round. Felix has question marks physically coming into the tournament as he suffered a slip and he injured himself in Halle, being forced to retire mid-match against Dominic Streaker. He also has Thanasi Kokkinakis in the first round, who is a tough competitor always, especially in a slam. I think de Minaur will move through and face Hurkacz in that fourth round. Hubie is going to be my pick to make his second Wimbledon quarterfinal. I just think the matchup would favor the pole more as he has overall more weapons that would further aid him with this being on the grass. And then finally, 7-time champion Novak Djokovic will start against Czech qualifier Vit Kopriva and could then face Alejandro Moro Cañas. Then his first projected seeded opponent is Thomas van Etcheverry. Then in round 4, Holger Rune. Quarterfinals, Hurkacz. Semifinals, Zverev. And then in the final, Jannik Sinner. Novak really could not have asked for a better draw. This is going to be his first tournament, first match, professional match since Roland Garros, where he had to pull out of the quarterfinals due to needing to undergo a knee meniscus surgery. He played the Hurlingham exhibition recently where he beat Medvedev in straight sets, so his recovery process looks decent. Novak has said himself that he is pain-free and is taking it day by day, and right now he looks like he will be playing in this Grand Slam. I don't know really who any of these guys that he'd have to face in the opening 2 rounds, which means that he can likely work himself into form and find his footing. The first seed he could face is Thomas van Etcheverry, and Van Etcheverry, the Argentinian, is not that great on grass. His projected fourth-round opponent, Holger Rune, does not have a whole lot of confidence. He lost opening round in Queens and really hasn't done anything too notable this entire season. But I think that Holger is bound for something big this tournament. He's very much overlooked, but he showed his grass court prowess last year where he got a couple good wins beating Dimitrov and reaching his first quarterfinal at the grass court major. I think his draw is somewhat solid as well. Young Brit Paul Jubb could meet him in the second round, and Jubb got a lot of people's attention this past week, beating Ben Shelton in an epic quarterfinal match to reach his first ATP semifinal. Like Rune, Karen Khachanov is not high on confidence himself, but I believe he too can go on a deep run if he strings together a couple good wins. He faces compatriot Aslan Karatsev in the opening round, who is streaky yet skilled, but I still think Karen should clear. The heartwarming story of the tournament last year, Chris Eubanks will hope to defend some of those quarterfinal points, and I think this is a decent draw for him to do so. He did pretty well in Halle last week, making the quarterfinals, and I think he could definitely trouble Khachanov should they play in that second round. If Rune and Khachanov do play in the third round, I would pick the Dane to come through. They played in the Hurlingham exhibition, actually, which Rune won convincingly in straight sets, even though, once again, it was an exhibition. I just have a gut feeling, once again, that something big is coming from Holger, which is why I actually also have him beating the 7-time champion Djokovic in that fourth round to make the Elite Eight yet again. Holger has beaten Novak twice before, so he definitely has the game to trouble the Serb and obviously beat him. And Djokovic, of course, would be more vulnerable just coming off that meniscus surgery. And even though, like I said before, the second seed said he is pain-free, I still think it's too early and too much of an ask to play a slam in less than a month after having surgery. Taylor Fritz did do it actually in 2021, came back after undergoing meniscus surgery at the French and then played Wimbledon the very next slam. So it's definitely possible, but Djokovic is older, nearly like 10 years or older than Fritz. So I just don't know what we'll see out here, especially to just being concerned that something bad could happen. Fingers crossed it doesn't, but players have been slipping and falling like crazy on the grass this year. So just hope the same does not happen to Novak. Now, going to my predictions, I have Sinner, Dimitrov in the quarterfinals, joined by Alcaraz, Paul, Musetti, Fritz, and then Hurkacz and Rune. In the semifinals, I believe we'll have another Sinner, Alcaraz affair, followed by Fritz and Hurkacz. And in the finals, I have a rematch of the Halle final between Jannik and Hubert, with Sinner once again taking this one. Now, going over my snubs while simultaneously explaining why I made some of the decisions I made. First, I do think that Berrettini can definitely beat Jannik Sinner. Even Ben Shelton, too, he could do something if he makes it that far, although it's a bigger if for Shelton, in my opinion. The first week, nonetheless, would be a huge test for Jannik. But I think he's the world number one for a reason, and I think that he should, pass the test. Daniil Medvedev not making out of his section, another snub. He's always great in the slams, and I would not be surprised at all if he proved me wrong and went on another deep run here, but I'm just simply not confident in his prospects right now. I was close to having Dimitrov actually take down Sinner in that quarterfinal. It was just an edgy gut pick, but I had to remember that this head-to-head matchup is just not good for Dimitrov. So I just stuck with Sinner moving through to the semifinals. Talking about Carlitos, I honestly would be shocked if anyone but Alcaraz made it out of his section. I think Hugo Humbert is his biggest threat for sure, but Humbert even making it to the second week is a big ask of him. I could see Alexander Bublik instead of Tommy Paul making that quarterfinal, but I'm not that apologetic about the Casper Ruud snub for obvious reasons. Lorenzo Musetti, I had him making the quarterfinal, but that's the one where I expect to kind of be wrong at because so many players out of that section could come through. Like, again, there's Rublev, there is Korda, and then maybe Tsitsipas, although I don't think he will make it out. But just so many other players could come through. But I'll just go ahead and stick with the Italian. I think that Jack Draper is a bigger snub than Zverev, to be honest, but I'm just not sure about the Brit's body withstanding all of that tennis he's been playing the recent few weeks. He is very, very injury prone himself. I was close to having Taylor Fritz actually make the final, and I low-key think he could take the whole thing too if he plays at his A level throughout the whole tournament. The reason why I kind of kept him from going further than what I had him going is because he's never made it this deep in a slam before. He's never made a slam semifinal, I believe. So it'll be a whole new world for him, and I'm not sure if he'll be able to handle the occasion. Of course, with this being a great opportunity for him to bring America a slam. Hurkacz can definitely lose early at a major, so I wouldn't be too surprised if that prediction totally collapsed. So definitely Alex de Minaur could advance instead of him. Felix Auger-Aliassime too. But I still am confident in my pick with the poll, and I think that from what we've been seeing from him all season, a great major result is bound to come. Djokovic, of course, is probably the biggest snub here, perhaps. I could for sure see him having his little rise from the ashes moment and take the whole thing and say, I just had a surgery and I came back and all the haters were doubting me, yada, yada, yada. But I just will stick with my gut feeling of having Holger Rune. I just think that what I've been observing from him, it's been edgy, and I think he can take it. Now, why Jannik Sinner winning this title? I feel like I really should not have to explain myself too much, as he is such an overwhelming favorite despite his draw being so bad. I think what he showed in Halle was very impressive. In addition to just simply being the best player in the world, he's also extremely clutch. There were times where he could have lost a lot of his matches that he played, but he played the big moments the best, and that's what it takes in order to win a Grand Slam. And I think that's what's going to help him weather the storm in that pretty tough opening week. I think that should he play Alcaraz in the semifinal, it won't be tough. It won't be easy at all. But I do think that Jannik is actually a slightly better grass court player than Alcaraz. The two played here at Wimbledon, I believe, in 2022, and Sinner took that one in 4 sets, although Alcaraz has improved, of course, since then on the grass. But still, I think that the Italian, he showed that he's bound for Wimbledon's success, to be honest. He came close low-key to winning the title in 2022, being up 2-0 over Novak Djokovic, and then he lost to Novak again last year in the semifinals. He's going deep here at Wimbledon, so I feel like why not have him go all the way when he is playing his best tennis right now. So yeah, Jannik Sinner is going to be my pick to win Wimbledon this year. That's all I have for this men's Wimbledon preview, and let me know in the comments how you feel about my picks and whether you agree or disagree with me having Sinner and Hurkacz in the final with the Italian taking the title. Feel free to drop your own picks in the comment section below. I'll make sure I reply and give my own thoughts to y'all's thoughts. And then too, once again, make sure y'all subscribe and click the notification bell so you all are notified whenever I post my Wimbledon updates throughout the next couple of weeks. It's going to be epic. It's going to be lit. It's going to be crazy. I'm excited for what's to come. Have a great day. Have a restful Saturday/Sunday. Have a restful weekend. And I'll see y'all on Monday for Wimbledon. Sayonara.